So today we're going to be taking a look at a lot of news this week, but specifically one of the things that we're going to really highlight is gender. And the reason why I want to talk about gender, well, what does that have to do with the news? Well, guess what? There's this thing called the Equality Act. That's a bill that's attempting to be passed, and we have a lot of religious leaders and religious lawmakers freaking out about this because this grants equality to gender and ends discrimination. And this is making people very, very angry. So we're going to be talking about this specifically today because we have a lot of these people, again, who are saying that there are only two genders. And I really want to, we're going to look at, some of the craziness going on here. We have other news articles to look at as well. There's a lot of interesting things that have happened. But we're going to be taking a look at this just because there's so much misinformation and insanity going around it, and it really relates to some of the things that we talk about here. And so we're going to be looking at this, but right off the bat, because I know, we're going to get so many trolls. These topics really bring out the trolls and the haters. So one thing I want to make clear off the top of the, before we get started, because I know this is going to be every other comment in the chat, is that there is a difference between sex, gender, and sexual orientation. These are three different concepts. They're not the same. There's a difference between sex, gender, and sexual orientation. Furthermore, none of these categories are binary. So sex refers to your physiological, biological makeup. Gender is a construct. It's an identity. It's how one feels, how one identifies. It's a state of mind. It's a societal construct. And sexual orientation is who you're attracted to. So you can see that there are completely different categories. Sex has to do with biology. Gender has to do with a state of mind and a societal construct, a set of rules and ways that society has made up, and it varies from society to society. And sexual orientation, who you're sexually attracted to. They're different categories. And again, none of these are binary. Even sex, biological makeup. There's not just male or female. There is intersex, which makes up 2%, at least, estimated 2% of the population, where it's very different from just cut and dry male and female. It's on a spectrum. And again, even to do with biology. And so the idea here is that people have really grown up with outdated models of sex. The older generation have been taught incorrectly in school outdated science. And again, this is the science. This is the science. This isn't wishful thinking or anything like this. It really is the science. And people, have grown up in past generations in school, were taught outdated science, and they just haven't bothered to educate themselves, which is extremely unfortunate because guess what? Things get updated. We learn new information. And, this is really, really sad. I mean, imagine if you learned how to program computers in the 70s, and then you tried to make a game today using that same programming knowledge. Well, guess what? We have a lot more programming knowledge now than we did back then. Well, this is not the greatest analogy, but you can see that people have learned old, outdated models and understanding of how things are. And now we understand, we as in we, but I mean collectively the world, science, biology, all that, has updated their models. Anyway, I just wanted to say that at the beginning, get that. I'm sure we'll talk about it more because I just know that every single, question, every other comment is going to be, science says there are only two sexes. No, it's not true. It's not true at all. Anyway, so, but we're going to take a look at a lot of news today. So it's going to be good. The Equality Act. What is the Equality Act? Essentially, the Equality Act, word for word, the bill prohibits discrimination based on sex, sexual orientation, and gender identity in a wide variety of areas, including public accommodations and facilities, education, federal funding, employment, housing, credit, and jury system. Specifically, the bill defines and includes sex, sexual orientation, and gender identity among the prohibited categories of discrimination or segregation. Basically, it's protection. You cannot discriminate based on sex, sexual orientation, and gender identity. And even built into it, you can see that there is a difference between sex, sexual orientation, and gender identity. These are all different categories. And so it's an anti-discriminatory law. And so we are having all these religious lawmakers, all these pastors freak out about this. Why? Because, again, this is another thing. The question of religious freedom is the main issue animating people against the Equality Act. So basically, it's upsetting mainstream religion because they're going, oh, hey, but I want to be free to discriminate. You are violating my religious freedom to discriminate. So this is an anti-discriminatory law, and it is upsetting people because they want to be free to be able to discriminate. So I hope you can see how gross this is. If your religion is causing you to get angry about anti-discrimination, well, there's probably something wrong with the way you're thinking, your thought process. And this really highlights what we're all about. We are simply against those who do not tolerate. We do not tolerate the intolerant. And again, it is absolutely insane that here we have a law that wants to be passed that is an anti-discriminatory law, and people are up in arms about their religious freedom to discriminate. Like, do you see how insane this is? This is like, oh, I want to be free to be a racist. I want to be free to be a sexist. I want to be free. Like, do you see the line of thought? This is like, well, I would like to be free to be a violent, psychopathic murderer. No, you don't understand. That's not how it works, okay? So we have Karl Popper's paradox of tolerance. We do not tolerate the intolerant because tolerating the intolerance leads to a perpetuation and a propagation of more intolerance. So the intolerant should not be tolerated because they spread intolerance. So we're going to take a look at some of this that's going on here. So I just want to give you guys a little taste here of what's going on. We have Franklin Graham denounces the Equality Act, calling it a very dangerous bill. Evangelist Franklin Graham is speaking out against the Equality Act, asserting that if it passed, will diminish religious freedom. This is a quote. It's a smoke screen to force Americans to accept the LGBTQ agenda, and it creates a lot of inequality for Christians and people of all faith. No, it is ridiculous. Graham added that it would destroy women's rights. God made us male and female, and that's it, Graham asserted. With some 6,000 years of human history, it has only been in the last few years that people have come up with all of these additional designations for gender identity. This is no, that's also not true. That's also not true. There has been throughout history a lot of different designations for different genders among indigenous people and a lot of others as well. So, again, this is really just, come on. I mean, how ridiculous can it get? And then, so on this website, there's all these different links to, how we can fight this, what we can do to end this horrible thing. Our neighbor, Representative Marjorie Greene, tried to block the Equality Act because she believes that prohibiting discriminations against trans Americans is disgusting, immoral, and evil. Thought we'd put up our transgender flag so she can look at it every time she opens her door. So this is awesome. A Congresswoman, this is a tweet by Congresswoman Mary Newman, and Marjorie Greene is trying to block the Equality Act. And so they set up a transgender flag right outside her door. And let me make sure you guys can see this. Yeah, if you guys can see this. That's really awesome. Good for them. Good for them. Good for them. I applaud. I applaud this. So this made Marjorie Greene very angry. And she posted a sign which outside that says, and so she posted this: there are two genders, male and female, trust the science. And this is so wrong in so many ways. She probably meant to say sex, but she said gender. But no, I mean, because when people are this uneducated, they conflate gender and sex, which is ridiculous. And again, the irony here is, you have in quotes, trust the science. The science does not say, if you go look, go look this up. This is not just me spouting my personal belief. This is what the science says. There are multiple, gender is a spectrum, including biologically. Including biologically, 2% of the population is intersex, which doesn't fall into the, the categories that one usually associates with male and female. So again, sex isn't gender, gender isn't sex, sex isn't sexual orientation. They're all different. They have different things. And, but even when you're talking about biology, it's not a binary. So, again, this is really awful. You have Marjorie Greene here trying to block people from, or block the Equality Act. I mean, it's just so funny because, like, how bad do you have to be to block the Equality Act? I want to be free to be an asshole is basically the, I want to be free to be a hateful person is basically the argument in a nutshell here. Arizona Republicans on non-binary people likens them to animals and it. Again, I'm non-binary, so 2 Arizona legislators are facing ethics complaint after one likened identifying as non-binary to identifying as a chicken, and another referred to a non-binary person as it. And why were they making these remarks? They made those remarks because on a bill where that would bar the state and local governments from offering any gender options other than male or female on official documents. Male and female are the only options currently offered, so the bill is a preemptive move. Riley, a transgender man and community activist, filed the complaint with the House Ethics Committee. So how gross is this again? Like, look. This is one of the things that I get really fired up about this type of thing. All right, guys, so here we go. This is a video, and because we're on the topic of mainstream religion and freakouts here, you guys who follow my channel know who this is, but this is a pastor, a ridiculous pastor, Kenneth Copeland. And let's take a look.
Well, it's about time. I'm here. I am the one. Raise your voice. I'm the Jubilee. Ken Copeland, you pay attention to me. Stop it. I'm 83 years old. Get up. Be careful about what you say I am. I'm your financier. I'm your supernatural debt cancellation. Why, Brother Copeland, would you think a poor person should give and tithe? Absolutely. I'm a new person. I'm a new man. I'm a new woman. Oh, I like that. I'm a new boy. I'm a new girl. Oh, I confess that I'm here. I am the one. Raise your voice. I'm the Jubilee. Ken Copeland, you pay attention to me. Stop it. I'm 83 years old. Get up. You go around saying I'm healed. But you hypocrite, you're not healed. You're just saying that trying to get somebody to give into your ministry. I am. It's not time to stop tithing. And tonight we are going to invest in this ministry. I'm a new person. I'm a new man. I'm a new woman. Oh, I like that. I'm a new boy. I'm a new girl. Oh, I confess that I'm here. I am the one. I am. Raise your voice. I'm the Jubilee. I am. Ken Copeland, you pay attention to me. I am. Put it in reverse. Raise your voice when I've released that power. Whoa! I'm here. I am the one. I am. Raise your voice. I'm the Jubilee. I am. Ken Copeland, you pay attention to me. I am. Stop it. I'm 83 years old. Get up.
This is the channel W2F Bra on YouTube. They make a lot of these hilarious music videos. They have a ton of them. You should subscribe to them if you like stuff like that. So go subscribe if you like them. Their content, it's really good. So yeah, that guy's crazy. He's insane. He's kind of our theme when we look at these religious sort of things. So yeah, that's Kenneth Copeland. A very unfortunate monadic entity. But let me see if I missed anything while we were taking a look at that. I thought this was really cool. Let's take a look at some good news. I thought this was awesome. Check this out. This is awesome. Tiny House Village opens in Los Angeles to help shelter homeless residents. So this is so cool. They opened up a tiny house village shelter for the homeless. Take a look at this. Look how cool this is. Look how cool this is. Hopefully you guys can see this. I'll show you some better photos in a moment. But each tiny home is 64 square foot and has 2 beds, heat, air conditioning, windows, a small desk, and a front door. On-site meals, showers, case management, house and navigation, mental health, job training, and placement will also be provided. How cool is that? Like this is now stuff that's on the right track. I'm gonna show you some. I'm gonna mute this just so I don't get flagged or anything. But just take a look. Look how cool this is. Look at this. I mean, this is awesome. I love seeing stuff like this. This is heading in the right direction here, where we start actually caring about people and realizing that very basic necessities should be provided. You know, you should have a roof over your head. You should have food. You should have access to mental health care. You should have access to all these things. Look how cool this is. I love this. So I haven't looked into this in detail. So if there's something nefarious about this, you know, don't come running to me. But from what I know about this, sounds awesome. Look at this. I love this. You know, see the big difference here between something like this and then other, you know, where they put spikes on seats so that people can't sleep on them, or all the other horrible things that have been done. How cool. Look at this it's a whole little community. And I love that not only that, but that they're offering, you know, job training, mental health care. How awesome. I can't wait till we're able to do stuff like this someday, right? I would love for us to be able to do, you know, similar things like this in the future. And at some point we will start looking into stuff like that when you know, when we have the means to be able to do so. But how cool is that, right? Like stuff like I love seeing stuff like that. Yeah, Tortured Order. Nice to see you here, by the way. Tortured Order has a Hyperion podcast. I caught them live this week. They're going to be going live every single week. Yeah, I agree, Matteo. Or Matteo. TaylorMade says you can't. I tried. What do you, is something not working for you? Let me know if something's not working. Kim drew the line says, Kim, I thought you drew the picture. Now you drew the line? What happened to the picture? I work with the homeless, so I love this too. That's awesome. Yeah, I thought that was, anyway, I thought that was really cool. And not only offering shelter, but job training, mental health. I thought, oh, wow, some good news here. So I love that. I love seeing, hopefully the Equality Act passes. Hopefully, stuff like this catches on. That's in the right, we have a lot of work to do. But it's in the right direction. So if you guys are familiar with Edward Munch, who created The Scream, I'm sure you're familiar with The Scream, the famous painting. Do they have, come on, tell me they have a picture of it. Well, you can kind of see it here. You know, The Scream. Anyway, they found a hidden message in the corner of the painting that says could only have been painted by a madman, and it's was traced back to the painter. So I thought that was really cool. Edward Munch put a hidden message in the corner of his Scream. The Scream could only have been painted by a madman. I like that. I some of the greatest geniuses and artists in history have flirted with madness. And like Friedrich Nietzsche went insane. And it's really interesting because, in some of Nietzsche's work, Nietzsche talks about madness and how the mad can often be geniuses. And the irony there was that, Nietzsche himself, a genius, did eventually succumb to insanity. Anyway, that was just something that I thought was pretty cool, pretty neat. But the main point that I want to get across here today is, first of all, please educate yourself. It doesn't take that much time. And I'm not saying it to, like, you, if you have, but those who haven't, those who don't understand this idea of gender. Please educate yourself. It's not that hard. Look it up, check it out, look at some studies. Sex, gender, sexual orientation, they're not the same thing, and none of it is a binary. So check it out, take a look at that, educate yourself, and I just want to highlight again why it is that we're against mainstream religion. We are against any ideology that has this kind of discrimination and intolerance. And you can see clearly this Equality Act, which seeks to end discrimination based on sex, gender, and sexual orientation, is opposed largely, almost exclusively, but largely, not exclusively, but largely, due to religious freedom. Those saying that they won't be able to exercise their religious freedom to discriminate. And this really highlights an important factor of what we are about, is that we do not tolerate the intolerant because it allows tolerance to propagate. That's like someone saying, well, I want to be free to be a racist, or I want to be free to be a violent murderer, or something like that. It's not okay, guys. Mainstream religion, these ideologies are dangerous. They leave us stuck in the past. They halt progress, and they contribute to so much pain and suffering, physically, mentally, and otherwise, in the world today. So this highlights very important fact on why we want to create a new world where this sort of thing doesn't happen, and where intolerance of this kind, irrational intolerance, has no place. I've done videos about this in the past, so check it out. So yeah, if this is a new concept to you, remember, I mean, this is really important to me because I'm non-binary, but even if you're cisgender, this is something that affects everyone and all of us. We should all care about this, just like we should all care about racial issues, just regardless of our race. We should all care about, homelessness, regardless of our monetary status. It's something that we should all care deeply about to create a new world, because remember, we are, from the absolute perspective, all one. From the monadic perspective, we're all individuals, but from the absolute perspective, we're all one. So this affects all of us. Reality is a feedback loop, and we all need to be operating together in harmony and synchronization so that we can all be free to actualize themselves. And this is a huge hindrance and a huge stop on actualization. Because guess what? People who want to have their gender expression, that's a part of their actualization. And they're being prohibited, discriminated, limited against becoming who they are. It's a flower that's trying to bloom, and then everyone else is trying to just crush that flower and prevent it from its blooming. So again, I hope you guys can see how important this issue is and why we all need to care about it, and why it's important for creating a new humanity and a new earth, a new enlightened society, a society of the divine. So yes, let's actualize New Terra. Let's create a brilliant new earth where these problems are a thing in the past, and we'll be looking at them as ancient relics of unevolved, issues of an unevolved past. So let's create that evolved future now.